Good morning, my wonderful and amazing people of God. Down at day, I greet you all and happy Sunday. The DPA, this our lawyer, our instructor, our professor that is teaching us laws, and so we don't get ourselves in trouble. He said something, a little something that I kind of disagree with, because they say all figures are not equal. In as much as we don't agree with very dark black man, it's my opinion though. It's my opinion. Just maybe like 1% of this video, or less than 1%. I think I disagree with the beginning, the way he addressed a very dark man in the beginning. It's like, talking down on somebody. I don't partake in that. Allegedly, that's the way I felt. I might be wrong, but that's just my opinion. But I want you all to listen so that, let me know if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong for jumping into conclusion that, it was talking down on very dark black man because of his education background. I don't think that should be a yardstick to disqualify somebody for speaking up. A lot of the activists we had back in the days, in the 50s, even till now, some of them are not educated. It's just that what I see with very dark black man is that he doesn't know how to prioritize his activism. That's how I see it. He doesn't know how to prioritize his activism. When you prioritize your activism, then you know what to do. You know who to attack for not taking care of a percentage of a population that is being deprived of certain quota or things that actually they are supposed to have, like health care, like education, like clean water. Those are the things that activists fight for: children, women, the less privileged in the society. But he's using his own activism to attack women, which is bad. He's using his own activism to set people up. He's using his own activism to want to bring the North and the South into some basbos, He's using his own activity to want to cause religious war. He's using his own activism because of the kinds of things that is in the utter out of his mouth, which I personally disagree with him on the VDM side. But to use education to want to talk down on him, I don't think I personally agree with him, because who education favor for Nigeria? If not for those of us that we are privileged or opportuned to, one way or the other, get out of the college. People have masters, PhDs in that Nigeria. Who in favor? Did they pay them well? So it's very few people that education really favor for Nigeria. Those people back home. So I want you all to listen to him now, and you people, let me know. Leave your constructive comment and please share and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Patience Vlog.
I don't want to personalize it. I don't want to hammer on very dark man alone. It will look as if it's about his person, but it's not about his person. It's more about the Nigerian system.
It sounds that way, the way you're talking about it.
It's more about the Nigerian system. How could someone with relatively little education, that man is not an educated person. I'm not holding it against him. I'm not saying he's not an intelligent person, but at least in terms of formal education, his exposure is very limited, and you can see it in his work. You can see it in his utterances. But you must know that very dark man did not create himself. He is not the million followers he has. So he is a product of that following. What gingers him, what makes him feel important, is because so many people are following him. And why are many people following him? Because there are many aggrieved people in Nigeria. Millions of people are dissatisfied with the way things are done in Nigeria, with the way the government works. So, very dark men and people like him are products of a failed government system. Failure of governance creates vigilantism. And vigilantism, when we talk of vigilantism, many of you will think that vigilantism is restricted to the vigilantes you see in the evening mounting roadblocks blocks in the villages to enforce security. Now, there's more to vigilantism. Vigilantism arises whenever the private people in the private sector step in to carry out critical functions of the state, like law enforcement. So we have this vigilantism in other areas of law enforcement, like access to justice. People say, well, a very dark man helped them recover money owed to them, but how is that possible? How did he do it? If the justice system is working, like here in the United States, if people owe you money, you go to the small claims court, the forms are there, you fill it out, they give you a number, they contact those people, they'll come to court, they will say how they owe you, and they pay you. We don't have that in Nigeria. If people defrauded you here in the United States, you go to the police, you report the case, they look into it, if there's fraud, they'll act. We don't have that in Nigeria. We don't have a police system where you can walk to the police and lay a complaint and they will act. In Nigeria, no. More likely, what you will have when you go to the Nigerian police is you go there, you pay money to lodge a complaint. And after you pay money to lodge a complaint, they'll contact the person you complained against, they'll collect money from him. If they collect more money from him, they'll kill the case. If they collect more money from you, they will pursue the case. They will ultimately kill it, because the goal is not to enforce the law in Nigerian police. The goal is to collect from the complainant and the suspect alike. So with such massive failure, somebody like VDM comes out. Also, if you go to Nigerian courts and lodge a claim, the case could be there for the next 4 years. And the richer party will just go and bribe the magistrates. The magistrates are just like the police. You pay them money, you get what you pay for. So, with such a situation, you have very dark men. You have Harrison Gwamnashu. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce it well. You have all those people. And you have others coming in, call themselves human rights organizations, including us. We stepped in DPA's work. Part of DPA's work in Nigeria is based on the fact that the justice system is failing. But of course, DPA has a global dimension because we have problems of access to justice even in the United States, which is why DPA is also operated in the United States. But what you're doing is, whenever you want to pursue justice for people, you should never operate completely outside the formal legal system. You cannot have a parallel system of justice. You cannot have, because ultimately it's going to end up in court. Ultimately, every dispute ultimately will end up in court. So you cannot turn your back completely to the legal system, to the institutions of justice in the country, and to the police. You can't. So VDM says he doesn't need the court, he doesn't need the police, he's just going. How can you? So, but why would he choose that method? Why would these people choose to operate outside the legal system? Because they don't have the training and they don't have the skill to access the legal system. And why is the VDM very popular in Nigeria? Obvious reason, social psychology, actually. He is someone without education, without formal education. And yet he's pulling a lot of crowd. What he does, he sends a message to every uneducated person that it is actually possible to succeed without education. You have to know that a person who didn't have the opportunity to go to school, who didn't get education, feels somewhat incomplete, regrets the fact that he didn't go to school. You hear a lot of people who tell you education doesn't guarantee anything, but the fact is that they regret not going to school. Staying away from school is never an option a person would deliberately accept. So the uneducated Nigerians, who are in millions, and by uneducated I include those who went to school and didn't learn anything, strikes, poverty, lack of teachers, lack of environment, and they came out of school not educated. Many of them, they understand that they have limitation. They would want to overcome that limitation. They would want it to be that even though they didn't go to school, they're doing well. So when they see somebody like VDM coming to claim to fight for justice without education, every uneducated person feels indeed inspired. Oh, in other words, my lack of education is not a problem. So he has this pull. But you can see immediately the problems. If you recall, about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, when VADM and Daddy Freeze were having their problem, I was laughing because I wasn't quite happy with I wasn't happy with the way Daddy Freeze worked with Sarah Martins and Judy against me. I wasn't happy. I was very upset by that. So when VDM attacked Daddy Freeze, I said the rooster had come home to rest, more or less. So, because that is the jungle in the business. You take money to fight for justice, but you're not really fighting for justice, you're taking money. So, VDM, obviously, you can see he doesn't have the benefit of disciplined restraint. He doesn't know when to stop. He doesn't know the limits. He doesn't know the boundaries. He's intoxicated. Intoxicated by the cheer he gets from many people who, as I said, are largely gullible and uneducated people. Because if you're educated, you will know immediately. It's not difficult to understand that he won't go far. He's dealing with people who did bad things or who were afraid to confront him. The day he deals with who will confront him, they will take him down. And they will take him down legitimately through the system. In fact, at this moment, I think that his enemies have him cornered. How do they have him cornered? They can revoke his bail. The judge will revoke VDM's bail. If they present all these things that's happening, his bail will be revoked. And if his bail is revoked, he's going to prison, back to prison on remand. Not that he has been convicted, don't get me wrong, not that he has been convicted, but Nigerian system is one of the worst in the world. They know how to put people in prison before they convict them. If you commit an offense that carries 2 years jail term in Nigeria, they can remand you in prison for 4 years while trying that case. And at the end of the 4 years, they may find you not guilty, and the case will be dismissed. You are not guilty, but you spend 40 years in prison, and 4 years in prison. That is Nigeria for you. That's Nigeria for you. So, I don't know. All you are seeing going on about DVM now is a Nigerian problem. First, we have a large population of very gullible people. Large population of extremely gullible people who don't know much and yet who are very rambunctious and eager to express themselves. Okay? A lot of gullible people eager to be heard. That's part of it. Two, you have, because of the failure, then you have a failed state, which is connected to the first one. Why do we have many people in Nigeria gullible? Because the Nigerian government over the years has benefited from the people's gullibility. How do you keep a population down? How are you able to exploit and the people? You have to keep them illiterate. You have to keep them unaware. If the people are unaware, then they're more likely to engage in tribal conflict. Okay? If they are unaware, they're more likely to engage in gender conflict. You know, the men want polygamy, men think women are nothing. It is an illiterate society where you have prevalence of this. And the more the people are fighting among themselves over these little things, the politicians are left unchallenged to exploit and to corruptly enrich themselves. So for Nigerian government, Nigerian officials, there has been a good business reason for keeping the people uneducated. Absolutely. The politician, your senator, doesn't want you, the governor doesn't want you to have the ability to understand the budgetary system, to question his budgetary allocations, to question the expenditure of state. The governor, senator, does want you to have the power to understand the limits of the governor's power. So, everywhere in Nigerian government, over the years, they preferred to keep people uneducated and in the dark. And when you keep people uneducated, it used to work in those days before the age of social media. Because that time they kept them uneducated and also denied them voice. They had no voice and they're poor, they're uneducated. What social media has done was to give voice to everybody. And when you give voice to an uneducated person, you have ignited a bomb. An uneducated person with voice is a dangerous person. Absolutely. Look at what is happening in Nigerian society. You will even think that social media was invented in Nigeria because of the way Nigerians are using it. They're using it extraordinary. I mean, in America, look at people's social media in America. Americans don't go gathering thousands of friends they don't need. Americans don't go and talk nonsense on social media. You can't go and fabricate a complete lie. You may engage in advertisement and exaggerate your product. Yes, they do it here. But to go to somebody's wedding and you begin to harass and troll people, other guests, it will never happen. It's like something out of the blue. It is somebody's wedding, for goodness sake. They are his guests, not your guests. You can't embarrass his guests at his event. Can you imagine? Let's say you invite me to dinner in your house. You also invited other people. I came to that dinner. What right do I have to begin to troll fellow guests, people you invite? If you didn't invite them, if they were not invited, how did they end up there? Even if you did not send them an invitation, but they showed up and you allowed them in, you have invited them at that moment, or you let them in. So why would anybody? And then look at the pattern of utterances of VBM. Oh, very, very shocking to me. Many people are seeing, oh, powerful man. No, I see someone who is damn scared. Because people, any day you're listening to somebody and somebody says, I'm not afraid. Psychologically, he is afraid. Those of you who study psychology understand. The way he tackled Obi Kubana was so terrible. Very provocative. Obi Kubana, even if he hated Obi Kubana, that statement he made was not a time to attack him, because that statement was very carefully presented. Very careful. He didn't mention anybody, and he made a general remark. If you had wanted, you could have come out and said, hey, wait a minute. I read what was said by Obi Kubana. I think he hasn't been fully informed as to what is going on. I'm sure if he understood my position, he wouldn't have said that. Simple. Simple. But to provoke ethnic rivalry, accuse him of alcoholism, you were actually doing what we call the ethnic baiting. That is what the northern elite will use to accuse the southern elite. The Muslim elite will accuse the southern elite. They'll say, you are selling beer, you are committing sin. Because in the north, they don't publicly drink alcohol, but they drink alcohol. Almost all my northern friends, senior Muslim friends, drink alcohol. But they don't do it in public. However, it is a good argument to challenge an Igbo millionaire and then compare him to northern millionaires. It wasn't necessary. I'm not a fan of Bikuban at all. But the fact that you attacked him unprovoked in a vicious, personal, and with ethnic undertone, ethnic religious undertone, it was very terrible. It meant that all this while, VDM has been envying Kubana and waiting for an opportunity to attack him. And he attacked him. And he began to say, oh, there was somebody in prison. What does he know about it? He was in prison for a week or so. I was remanded in prison for a longer time. I have a longer list of people who helped me that I have helped. DPA has helped thousands of inmates. Why would Kubana is a private individual? He doesn't provide job. And that's what VDM didn't know because he's not educated. If he was educated, he would find out that no particular individual in the private sector can replace government. And people don't give job. People don't employ people for the sake of the people they employ. Educated people know that when you employ a person, you're not doing a favor to that person you employed. You and that person are engaged in a symbiotic, mutually beneficial arrangement. He works for you. You pay him salary. You give him what he needs. He gives you what you need. Only an uneducated person will blame somebody for not hiring people. Is he government? He will hire people when he needs them. And when he hires them, it's not a thing for you to thank him for. You don't thank people for hiring people. Unless those people are not qualified. Unless those people are not adding value to the work, then you can thank them. But why would he hire people who don't add value? So the attack on Obi Kubana was extremely dangerous. Very dangerous. I mean, because it showed, not that he harmed Obi Kubana, no. It just showed a tendency of what happens if you give power to somebody who is not really educated. He will hurt you. He will harm himself. He thinks that, he keeps saying, oh, my mouth, I will talk. And he bragged. He bragged that his attack on Daddy Freeze caused his business to go down. Can you imagine? That means that again, he's not educated. Because guess what? If Daddy Freeze were to sue him, Daddy Freeze will be required by law to prove damages. To prove that the activities of very dark man has harmed his business. We call it damage. He must prove damages. So, but guess what? Very dark man has confessed that he damaged Daddy Freeze. So when they asked Daddy Freeze, how do we know that what he said actually harmed you? He will say, listen to him. He admitted it. He will play that line. So even if he realized that his work damaged Daddy Freeze, he should keep quiet about it. But he goes talking about it. That means, again, lack of education. If you look at Nigerian problems, they're all connected. Lack of education makes it possible for your government to exploit you successfully. In other words, your lack of education is connected with corruption in the country, connected to bad governance. It reinforces itself. The government wants you poor and weakened and uneducated and unable to do anything. And because you're unable to do anything, all this kind of thing, because you're not educated, all this kind of thing happens. The only thing that is shaking the government now is that social media has empowered millions of uneducated people. And with that power, they're now seeing how dangerous an uneducated person becomes when empowered with voice. And by the way, you gotta be careful when you hear the people say the activists in the justice system. Yes, it's good to engage in activism, but you must understand what you're doing.
Exactly, that's my point.
You must understand what you're doing. And for us to know you're an activist,
those are the people you're supposed to protect.
You must have an option. You must have an option. If you're an unemployed person and you engage in activism because you're unemployed, that's not activism. You are struggling to make a living. You are struggling to survive. All right, this is United States. I'm in the US. Everywhere is calm. There's no generator noise anywhere. I have not had power outage in 3 months. Indeed, even since October last year, I don't recall any moment when there was even 1 second power outage. I'm not afraid of being kidnapped. I'm not afraid of falling sick and not having medical attention. I can take a stroll, everything cool, nice. I have a job, I have my family, I have friends here. But when I leave all these things and travel to Nigeria to go and engage in activism, to rescue people, that is activism. That is true, genuine activity, because I gave up. I left something here. Michael, once you are listening to me, I left something here to go there. But assuming I was in Nigeria, uneducated, unemployed, and I say, hey, I'm activism. No, I'm trying to survive. So you gotta you gotta understand. I'm not trying to discourage anybody, but if you want to engage in activism, first and foremost, you have to understand the rules involved. You have to understand the system, and you have to understand that you can only work to complement the system. You can only work to fast-track the system. You cannot work outside the system. If you operate outside the system, you're going to have a big problem. Like in all the cases of DBM, you'll never hear him take anybody to court. His sole weapon, his sole means is to try to shame the person. Okay? It's working for him. But one day he will make a mistake and attack a person without proper information. And attack a person who is determined to take him down. I think that process has started. So his current criminal case is, they have set the process going on. And being on bail, he should have been very careful, to set everywhere agog with all this kind of controversy is terrible. Unless, I can tell you today, unless the prosecutor does not ask to revoke his bail will be revoked. And if the way it works, if they revoke his bail and put him in prison, he'll be attending court from prison. And he'll be surprised because they will deliberately delay the trial. Every day the prosecution will give excuse why the case cannot go on. And he will remain there for a long time. So, and that will destroy him, really, because as I said, he doesn't have the foundation. It's not easy to be detained and you come out and continue. No, you have to be deep and strong, and you have to have strength and power outside the system that detained you. Otherwise, they'll crush you. Even if you're a governor in Nigeria, once they put you through the prison system, even 1 year, 6 months, you are like ice water. There are very few people who will be detained and they will remain strong or even get stronger after detention. Now, when they detain you, they deconstruct you. You know what deconstruction is? So, I have previously addressed other things, other assumptions people made, that because you didn't mention a person by name, you did not defend the person. That is again evidence of lack of education. If you're educated, you will know. You will know that you don't have to mention names. And then also, let me correct another impression. You came sometime in June, you attended an event, you came out and you began to attack a woman viciously. So viciously. And they asked you, why? He said, she attacked my mother a month ago. Again, lack of education. Lack of education. Lack of education. When the law says don't attack a person, the law didn't tell you that you should attack the person if. They said don't attack the person. That's the law. So if somebody had walked up to you and abused your mom and you responded, abused the person back, we can say you were provoked. You acted on the heat of the moment. You were angry. But somebody abused your mom in May. You bore grudge throughout May, or in April. Somebody abused your mom in April. You bore grudge throughout May and end of June. You came and attacked the person. Stupid. It's indeed the fact that she abused your mom makes it easier to convict you, because it is evidence of motive. It's evidence of premeditation. It is evidence that you did not act in anger, that you calculated this, you planned it, you have borne grudge for 2 months. And within those 2 months, you could have gone to court, you could have filed a petition against the person. You didn't do it. Now you took the law into your hands and you say abuse. Who are you appealing to? That kind of excuse appeals to illiterates in the society. Oh, she abused the mother before. Illiterate, uneducated person. A better defense would have been, no, I didn't mean it. Come on, I have nothing against her. I didn't mean it that way. Oh, no. I had no intention to attack her. I was just, speaking. I didn't mean it that way. That is the defense for an intelligent person. But an unintelligent person comes and says, yeah, I meant it, I planned it, because she attacked my mother 2 months ago. Can you imagine? It is like if somebody beats your child. You can, if you meet him when he was doing it, you can beat the person back, and then you can cite defenses. You acted to defend your child, or you were so provoked, you acted in anger. But somebody beat your child this month. You left, you did nothing. And 2 months after, you went and beat the person up. That is not provocation. That is premeditation. That's called calculated behavior. That's exactly what the law wants to prevent. So with that sort of thing, you have no defense. You are going in. So, but why didn't he know this? Because he's not educated. And why didn't his followers know that? Because they're not educated. That's the problem of the country. Millions of illiterates with voice. And the funny thing is this. The same social media, the same internet gives you opportunity to take courses. Let me give you an example. My son, as you know, studied accounting. He's an accountant. He told me he was reading something. He said, Dad, I'm taking a course. As 2 days ago, he was taking a course. That's why he wasn't able to meet me last week. I said, what course are you taking? He said, Dad, I'm taking online courses, and I was studying history. I was reading the history of the Second World War. I was so impressed. So impressed. My son didn't study history in school. He studied accounting and business. But guess what? He realizes that he needed to know a lot more outside what the school taught him. So he's taking classes on social media. He's not on Facebook fighting with anybody, abusing anybody. So why can't you learn? But many of you are so lazy. You can't even use Google to spell check your writing. There are apps that will spell check your writing, correct your English, correct your grammar, and you post it. You are too lazy to do that. But you are spending hours on Facebook abusing people, sharing the wrong thing. Okay? So, people have to be people should learn from a very dark man. But I said he's not going to go far. I didn't mean it in a negative way. I listened to his voice. He said he didn't need money, which was a lie anyway. You need money. Okay?
Everybody needs money.
You need money? Absolutely. Without money, you will survive 24 hours.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a fact. Okay?
Agree.
So he lied about that one. Then he is not walking through the court system. He's not filing police reports. He's not filing anything in court. He wants to very dark man. But I said he's not going to go far. I didn't mean it in a negative way. I listened to his voice. He said he didn't need money, which was a lie anyway. You need money. Okay?
Yep.
You need money? Absolutely. Without money, you will survive 24 hours. Okay, that's a fact. Okay? So he lied about that one. Then he is not walking through the court system. He's not filing police reports. He's not filing anything in court. He wants to achieve justice outside the system. How can it work? Only in someone's dream. Okay? He said, by the way, any justice you achieve in that way is called jungle justice.
Jungle, yeah.
It's jungle justice. And we are society abhors jungle justice. Let us learn from this incident. The young man has walked himself. You see, I'm not interested in this so-called followers you have. You have this follower, you have 1 million followers. That is irrelevant to me. We call it the viral effect of the social media. Viral effect. Okay? In other words, large following is often a sign you're doing the wrong thing. Absolutely. Who has large following? Does any of the professors in the university anything have following? No.
No.
The people that have large following, now some people who cause nuisance, of course I know there are legitimate people there, but the more you cause nuisance, the more you attract people like you. Okay? People desperate to enjoy that sort of event. People have to be careful. It's unfortunate to be invited to somebody's wedding and you troll his guests.
Yeah, that's not right.
Honestly,
that's
if
not
I
right.
were the guests, I will hold the person who invited me responsible. Because you invited me to be humiliated, you're supposed to protect me from this behavior. And since this happened, we haven't seen any step you've taken.
I think he has.
So, of course, if you do that to Davido, if you accuse Davido of not protecting you, of allowing this to happen, Davido will refer to Cubana chief priest and said, look at where Cubana chief priest was telling him not to call anybody out. I told Cubana chief priest to go and tell him that. So clearly what he was done was in violation of promises made. Okay. So, a whole lot of people. I mean,
why this black man who they listen?
You see, if it were in America, people are looking for who to sue. If it were in America, you sue Davido and the Seamen. They created a monster.
No, they didn't create him more.
They brought him, they gave him the opportunity to do what he was doing. You sue them. If you sue them, they will settle. Yes. If you file a lawsuit against Davido now, no Seamen now, and drag them to court, the lawyers will immediately call you and say, hey, can we settle this? And they will pay you money. Obviously. Because they brought this guy.
But the people he's trolling, they have money. The people
it's like what we call
BDM is dragging, have money. Obi Cubana have money. Who is the other one? Yabo Ojo and a billionaire boyfriend. Follow. They have money.
And the teacher had a prior history of sex offense, sexual offenses or conviction for sexual offenses, you're supposed to know. Or maybe the teacher was fired in his previous position because he molested a child. You're supposed to know, but you hired this teacher, and this teacher molests a child, they will sue you. It's called negligent entrustment. Negligent hiring. You entrusted this guy with this function or position without caring about the fact that he will cause harm to others.
He was just causing
harm. If all these things were happening in America, it's like a lawsuit against the leader. I would say, why? Because you want to get to the bottom of it. Once you slam them with a lawsuit, they will settle the case. And in settling the case, they will have to publicly cut ties with this guy. People should be very careful. Okay? People should be very careful. You know, it's good to fight for justice, but you must not turn it into.
He's not fighting for justice.
You must avoid vigilance.
The guy is just, I don't know what to call him.
You should just facilitate the process. Help people. Look at us as problematic as Nigerian police, as, you know, disappointed as I have been with Nigerian police. We have to work with them because we don't have the capacity to arrest people. When someone beats his wife, we can't go and beat the person. We can't go and grab the person. We can't even sometimes talk to the person. We have to go back to the police. We work with the police. We take it upon ourselves to go and explain the case to the police in a way that will motivate action. Because if we send the person to the police will not help. So you have to find a way to work with the problematic system and make it work for you. You cannot turn your back to the system. If I say, oh, because of my issues with Nigerian police, I will never work with them, they're all criminals and corrupt, bam, bam. That's nonsense. I can't do the work of the police. I don't have the constitutional mandate to arrest people. I don't have power to detain people. I don't have power to criminally indict or prosecute people. So DPA has to work with the police. DPA has to work with the court. Some courts have done things that are extremely shocking. I have been in courts where I could swear that the judge has taken bribe. But that's not a reason for me to say, okay, we will no longer work with the courts. That's not possible. So, very dark man and others who work for justice should develop a process that will allow them to work within the system. So what he will do, since he's not a lawyer, but he has large following, what he needs to do is to hire lawyers. Hire lawyers. The same thing with anybody else who wants to try this. Hire lawyers, because in the final analysis, you can't conclude a case without the police and the courts, without the law. Hire lawyers. Okay? That's my advice. And those lawyers will advise you, okay? I hope they'll be good lawyers, because I don't think that lawyers that are representing very dark man in Abuja advised him well. If they advised him well, they will not let him talk.
Is he listening
if you're my client and you're having this problem, the first thing I will do is I'll cut your ego to size. I will tell you, hey man, you want to stay in the fight or you want to be eliminated too early. You say you want to stay in the fight. I said, you're going to shut up for a while. And if you want to speak, speak through someone else. Speak through someone else.
I hope he listens. I hope he's watching.
Don't speak to yourself. It can't be allowed. When I was remanded in prison in my fight with the Nigerian police, I had to have someone speak for me. Rambo was speaking for me. That made it possible for us to keep DPA going with my admins for the period I was there. Otherwise, the calculation of the police was totally to destroy DPA. They thought that if I was silenced, DPA would be dead. They didn't realize that we anticipated that in advance. We knew that would happen, so we prepared for it. So, whatever you do as an activist, please work within the system, work within the law, avoid needless controversy. I think attacking Obi Kubena in the circumstances he did, and when he did, it was a very terrible mistake. And the manner he did it. I emphasize the manner he did it. He tried to ignite a sentiment of northerners against northern Muslims against southern Christians. He deliberately specifically compared Obi Kubana and northern rich men. And then he hammered on alcohol.
Okay? What is wrong with that guy?
Yeah, alcohol is poison. I don't drink it anymore. But that's not. It's legal. It's legal. Obi Kubana has rights to run alcoholic business. They have alcoholic businesses everywhere. Indeed, Saudi Arabia is now about to allow alcohol to be sold in Saudi Arabia for the first time. So, why attack Obi Kubana? If there's profit for him to make anywhere, business people are driven by profit. They set their businesses where they make profit. Only an uneducated person would think that you set up an industry, a factory in your village just for the sake it's your village. Only an uneducated person. If you studied economics, you understand why what we call location of industry.
Yes.
Location of business. I remember economics even at secondary school level. We studied location and localization of industry. Not be so? So I don't think that this gentleman knew that. Okay? The day the businesses become profitable in the East, the Easterners will move. Nobody will tell you to move. It's like the sunshine or the rain. When it starts falling, nobody will tell you to step out of the rain. In economics, people don't wait to be told the right thing to do. They will do it in their own best interest. So once Kubana sees opportunity to make profit in investment in the East, he will do so. He doesn't need to come there to do it because of his company. People who set up companies in their village just because it's their village are very foolish people. People who go and locate companies in their state just because it is their state, that's stupid. And they tell you, I'm doing this to help my state. It is not true. Don't believe it. It can't be true. He's doing it to make profit. Because that's the only way he can stay in business. When you make profit. If you are running a business and you're not making profit, I give you 2 years maximum for you to collapse. So, people should be careful. People should match their voice with their knowledge. If you don't have a lot of knowledge, don't speak too often. Don't speak too frequently. You've gathered millions of followers. You can raise money from them. Then hire people who know
what to say
to do
on your
things,
behalf.
Yeah. You lay behind and become a moral leader, a force behind the movement. But coming to perform these things yourself, ignorance is what I'm saying. So, learn from these things. By the way, I heard that...
My people, if you watch up to this time where you did very well, so what do you think that everything is said? Please leave your constructive comments, and thank you for subscribing to Patience Vlogs. God bless you. Bye-bye. Happy Sunday.